I contest this theory that has been propounded that everybody's being diagnosed with ADHD at the moment. Certainly not in the southwest of England. In my 20s, when I was at university doing my first undergraduate degree, I started off on one programme, and in my first year, the head of programme said that he thought I had ADHD and without a diagnosis, and that I would not be allowed into practice without diagnosis and medication. And this was not in a nice way. He did not say this in a nice way. And that he was doing it in a very limiting way, a very threatening way, and he absolutely destroyed me to the point where I ended up in hospital. I was not very well, and he said it in such a way that ADHD would be very limiting to my career, and that basically I wouldn't be able to do what I wanted to do. So I changed degrees, did a completely different degree, finished my degree, and moved forward with my life, and had it in the back of my head that I may or may not have ADHD, but then hid and masked. I am diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome later in life as well, and apparently people with Asperger's syndrome and other autism spectrum disorders, as they're now known, are between 30 and 70% chance of being diagnosed with ADHD. It's an interesting, depending on the study that I've looked at. So fast forwarding to now, I've kind of got over the kind of that horrible anxiety-ridden panic that ADHD is going to ruin my life if I'm diagnosed with it, and I'm struggling. And I finally got myself to the point where I went, no, I need the diagnosis and I need help. So I phoned up my doctor, who's an NHS doctor, and she went through the checklist and she went, oh, yes, I think you could be very ADHD. And I went, yeah, I think so, which is why I phoned you. And she said, well, there's a waiting list. And I was prepared for 2 years and I needed to get myself on that waiting list. And she said, no, it's 5 years. And I was gobsmacked, and I mean gobsmacked, that in the southwest of England, in the area that I live, and I live in sunny Salisbury, it's 5 years. I need help now, actually, which is why I phoned my doctor up, because I need help now. I'm struggling now. And not in the, I can't find my keys now, as in, I swear I'm getting worse as I'm getting older and I'm not functioning now. As in, please don't leave me alone to my own devices now. I'm not sure I should be allowed out in public now on my own. That sort of help. I don't function on my own now. If somebody doesn't organise me for me, I can't walk from room to room without forgetting what I'm doing. I need to write everything down. Now, where did I put my piece of paper? Now, that sort of levels and worse now. Did I remember to eat today? Did I remember to take my medication today for other stuff that's really important today? Now, I need help. Not in 5 years. So I looked up something after I'd come down from the shock of 5 years, called Right to Choose. And I went back to my practice and I gave them 2 providers that were listed on this Right to Choose. And they have come back to me and said, due to the Panorama programme, one of them, but she carefully ignored the other one, these are no longer on the right to choose because the NHS are investigating these independent providers because Panorama have highlighted that they are not as rigorous. Now, I do want something very rigorous. I don't want to be just flown through. I do want somebody to look at me and go very vigorously and say, no, you are ADHD, or no, you're not ADHD. I do want them to say, no, you're not if you're not. But equally, thanks Panorama, because 5 years is too long to be on a waiting list when you are struggling now. The NHS is an amazing institution, but it is massively underfunded. I have been on a waiting list for something called gastroparesis. I have an overarching disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which, funnily enough, ADHD and ASD are co-occurring with. And gastroparesis is caused by Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I have been on the waiting list for 2 years for this. And in the meantime, I'm taking a medication that is dangerous to be taken for more than 4 days. And I've been on it for 2 years. Great. So more funding for the NHS, please. But as a side, something needs to be done. Help. Any suggestions for the ADHD 5-year waiting list? Help. Don't know what to do. Don't know where to go. Don't know where to turn. Anybody got any suggestions, please? Answers below. Help.